All right, hello. How's everybody doing? Get my screen share going. All right. So let's see, we left off a couple of days ago. We left off with, we had just finished our baking, our ambient occlusion and normal maps and all that good stuff and material IDs. And so now we can start texturing. Although I was thinking before we dive into texturing, I would just quickly run through the process of baking in Substance Painter, since we did Marmoset Toolbag, and that's, not everybody has Toolbag, so I figured we could. It's the same process basically. This is the wrong folder. But yeah, let me just run through this. Basically, you just find your file and you want the low poly. So, and this will be a little complicated just by the fact that we've got two of these. But so we start with A. See, we've got our exploded bake here. Then we go into our, let's see, it's been a little while since I've done this. There it is, texture set settings, bake mesh maps, high definition meshes, add our high poly. And then we've got all these settings. I'll just, for the sake of, for the sake of time, I'll just only bake ambient occlusion. So you hit bake, and then it does its thing. And then you can press B to preview it. And remember, it's the same thing because we've got two things, so it only looks right on one spot, on the spots that we're currently working. But so there you go, we've got that. And then it would just be the same process for the other one. You just, you would go in and change your low poly to low poly B, switch that up, bake mesh maps, same high poly, bake selected textures, and now we've got the opposite. We've got this part working. So then it would be, then you would just go in here and swap this out for the game model, right? And then you would just have to set up your materials to match. I'm not going to worry about that though, because for McSpacebiff, we just, really only worry about diffuse texture. So I'm just going to use Marmoset because it's simple. But I figured I would just kind of show you how that's the same process, just different buttons. All right, let's see here. Whoops. Let me tell people that we're live. All right. Okay, so for Photoshop, I did go ahead, I've got this little script, and I went ahead and I just kind of ran it because it's just kind of slow. But basically I have a script that can take this color ID map and can automatically create these selections based on it. And it does a pretty good job. It works better the more like different your colors are. But it seems to have worked, so I think we can probably run with that. But yeah, I think we'll probably just go ahead and get started with this. So I do tend to kind of like touch these material ID maps up because they're not usually quite right. But so here's kind of my general process. I hide these, and then I'll make a base fill layer that's just sort of a neutral gray. Just fill everything in. And then I will make groups for the parts that are significant. So let's start with this one metal. We can call it like metal A, and then just mask. And then I'll start by filling it with another random color, basically. So put something a little more reasonable than our material IDs, but basically just so I can see what it's going to look like. So we've got that. And then we've got these. Oh, and I'm going to have to, this is going to be a little more difficult since I did 2 texture maps. I'm just going to have to kind of switch back and forth between them a lot. But it's not too bad. So go ahead and fill that. And I go ahead and open my other map. And here I can go ahead and I didn't do this one, so you can see the process with this little script. I don't remember where I found it, but it's I actually found it pretty recently. So it's scripts. It's this BCM extended shortcuts UI, and it's got, where is it? Split colors. You just click that, and then you set. These are some settings for basically the tolerance and if it's contiguous or not. I think the defaults usually work, but yeah, then you just click OK, and it just kind of takes a little while to run. But it saves quite a bit of, because otherwise I would just be going through with the magic wand and just selecting every single one of these colors, and that's the worst. So we'll just kind of wait for that to process and do its thing. I wonder if I can use Photoshop while it's doing that. Nope, of course not. Well, I guess while that's going, I can talk about my plans for this thing a little bit. We're still kind of going back and forth a bit on what its gameplay function is going to be. It's either going to be a way for you to call down supplies from orbit, because part of the lore is there's this giant ship in orbit, and it's the ship that brought the original colonists to the planet hundreds of years ago. And so it still has a lot of supplies. It's got a lot of ammo and vehicles and food and all kinds of all the stuff a colony would need. And so you'll be able to use these as like uplink terminals to connect to it and order like supply drops. We're thinking it'll be either something like that, or there will be larger terminals that you can do that from. And maybe these will be more limited in what they can do. So maybe they can maybe they just are limited to like what's actually in the little pack itself. So maybe it's like just a little like cache or supply crate or something like that. We'll just have to kind of play test all that and see what works. All right, so we've got our masks. So now I can go ahead and pick up where I left off. Let's see. You can change this to a side by side, so I can just kind of flip between them. And basically, I just want to make sure that I'm using the same colors. part is always a little tedious, but it shouldn't be too bad. All right. And so yeah, this is just kind of like my first opportunity to block in the kind of colors I'm thinking that I want. I'm just kind of keeping it simple. And I'll probably go through and kind of fine tune these masks because it never gets it like, quite 100% right. And I can go ahead and start. I can save these and I can start previewing what this is going to look like. It's pretty neat. I think those are the main ones that I need for the straps. Oops, already got that one. Okay, it's that one. Perfect. All right, I can go ahead and I can kind of group these at least and make a note that that's for the straps. Looks like I'm missing just this interior part. But you know what I can do? I could probably just hand paint that one in since it's just a simple one. And you kind of want to have like a little bit of overshoot sometimes anyway. All right. There we go. So now we've got our little material definitions. And I'm thinking I probably want this one here. Is that it? This one. This should probably be some kind of like, I don't know, almost like rubber. And so here I'm touching up some of these kind of bake artifacts. So yeah, I'm sure if you're familiar with Photoshop, you know there's nothing too crazy going on here. It's just masks. And why is this? Yeah, so this one, or that strap there, is showing in places it shouldn't. There. So it's this one. I don't think I want it showing there. So I'll just paint it out of there. There we go. All right, I really want these all to be fairly close. I think this one should just be a bit lighter. Not that much lighter. That's a good start, I think. All right, and then for the interior, I want pretty similar stuff. So it's just the same process, just gotta track down the mask that you need, create a new group, mask it, use a fill. This is one of the things that is really nice about Substance Painter is it just makes this whole process a lot simpler. So I do like Substance Painter quite a bit. But Photoshop is nice and simple. And just classic. There we go. I'll just fiddle with that a little bit, just change it slightly. Brighten it up so that these little stitched details can show through. And then we just need this little quilt piece back there. That's it. All right. There we go. Starting to look a little better. Hopefully you can see this clearly. It's a little dim. Turn that up a bit. Okay, and this starts getting fun. This is where it starts to kind of come together and kind of feel like we've actually got something. All right. Next up, we've got our probably these knobs. Let's see. Looks like they didn't quite. Oh, there they are. There we go. And then I had one that I wanted to kind of highlight. That's it. And then this is that little like kind of headphone jack type thing. Cool. Alrighty. Oh yeah, and then this is a different, pretty sure that's a different metal. Or supposed to be. Just make that something very different to kind of clearly see where it is. Alright, so I'm gonna change this up. This mask just didn't come through quite right, so just touch it up. But you can see why these material IDs, even though they don't quite ever work perfectly, they're very helpful. This is very time consuming to do by hand. All right, I think that's pretty cool. And then I'm just gonna kind of do something here. Does it not let me set a base color? That's kind of annoying. All right, just turn that down so it's a little less distracting. All right. Awesome. All right, I think I need to pull up my reference. All right, so here's my original reference. So this was the reference that I had for that for this part here. So I want to try to incorporate some of that vibe into it. Sometimes I like to just kind of do stuff like this. This is just for my own reference, or just kind of to get a starting point. And this is one of the reasons I like using Photoshop over Substance Painter, is because you can kind of do stuff like this in Substance Painter, but it's just a little harder. All right. All right, and I'm just gonna see if that looks kind of neat. I think it looks kind of neat. The ambient occlusion helps a lot with like the edges. You can be kind of be a little sloppy, and it kind of covers it. And as I've mentioned, it's kind of like, speed is sort of the name of the game when you're a, solo dev or a, tiny micro team like we are. It'd be ideal to, kind of design something like this in like Illustrator or something that's more, kind of geared to this, but I'm just gonna see if this works. McSpacebiff has a hand-drawn aesthetic already, so why not hand draw? And, that was an intentional choice, the hand-drawn aesthetic. In part because it's just cool, but also because it's a little easier. I can always kind of come in and touch this up if I decide it's not close enough or whatever. Just kind of seeing if there's a cool font that would look right. Probably Terminal. I think that's kind of cool. Let's see, what does that say? Not that it really matters, but 54, 62. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't quite fit. That's okay. This one just goes to 120. That picture is kind of hard to read. I'm just going to make up numbers. Alrighty. And of course, this is Planet America tech, so it's all in English. If this was for the Soviets, I'd see if I could put some gibberish in Russian in there just for some aesthetics. Okay. Oh yeah, we need something for this. We need something for this door. Let's see. I think I had kind of had just like a simple stripe in mind, actually. Hopefully this isn't too boring to watch. There's not always a lot to say about texturing. Let's see. Welcome. What's up, Sim Cook? Yeah, we're using Photoshop. Sometimes for more like super realistic stuff, I'll use Substance Painter. Substance Painter is really nice for doing like stuff that has a lot of like texture maps, like roughness and things like that. But Photoshop is kind of the move for just like kind of simple stuff, hand painted stuff. And so right now I'm just kind of trying to kind of explore and figure out the overall patterns that I want. Trying to kind of block in like these kinds of like informational details. Like I just kind of added some, gibberish onto the front panel there, based off of my references. Basically just, copied that. And then we're going to have something like that for for this screen here. I'm trying to figure out what I want to have here and what I want to have like on the outside. It's a little tricky. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun starting from here. We had this, and now it's coming to life. So let's see. I need like just some kind of random like text, or like I feel like there would be something like just like a piece of paper just kind of stuck in there or something. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what It's like, yeah, like that, yeah, like this. Yeah, I wish I could see this a little more clearly. Hmm. Yeah, so the idea with these, and honestly, it's kind of like everything we do. It's kind of like being kind of evolving as we go. Um, yeah, but the idea is that these are little like network terminals that can connect to the big ship that's in orbit. So there's a ship that's orbiting the planet, and it's like the ark that brought all the colonists here. And so it still has supplies on it, and you can use these, or there'll be larger like network terminals that you can use to connect to it. But these are like portable terminals. So like, scouts would take them out on expeditions, or like they'd leave them at their camps or something like that, so that they could call in supplies from the ship. And so that's kind of the idea. So thinking this would almost be like instructions or something on the inside, like how to use it. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. Let's see. I just Googled radio frequency chart, and I'm seeing if I can find anything I can kind of steal. Oh, this looks cool. I don't know what this means. This looks like something that could go in there, though. Oh, we'll probably have a separate thing for audio logs. We'll probably have like a little data pad computer kind of thing. A crumpled up photo, that would be good. That would be good, but I don't want to have to like I don't want to have to customize these for every single one. It'd be weird to see the same photo in every single one, right? I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. Here we go. I don't know what this is. But I think it looks cool. Yeah, so the idea is like make something kind of simple and somewhat generic that we can kind of reuse. Let's see, maybe it's like, maybe I can make this look like it's kind of yellowed from age. Yeah, something like that. And then maybe there's like, like it's just like taped on here. Kind of just like experimenting. And then maybe there's like, maybe they like wrote some frequencies down in a Sharpie or something like that. I don't know, maybe something like that. Maybe not. This is not letting me transform this. Come on. There we go. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. Hey, Troop Zor, what's up? Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah, that's a good idea. We could do that, or like a pin or something. So yeah, Troop Zor, we're texturing this thing. It's a little radio computer terminal backpack that like scouts would use to like request like supply drops and stuff like that. We've been working on it for a while, and we're finally to texturing it, so that's fun. And so yes, I'm kind of just still in the brainstorm phase, trying to kind of figure out what this thing is, or like, what kind of little touches of personality to give to it. I'm not quite sure what to do with the outside. Definitely needs something. But let's see, I think I'll go ahead and start doing like a little bit of like texture, like painting, like texture work on some of this stuff. Let's see. I gotta turn that off. My Wacom tablet does this kind of annoying thing. It keeps turning itself back on too. Oh yeah, we could probably do that. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Let's see what that would look like, just roughly. Yeah, that could be cool. That would make sense. I'll have to figure out where that file is stored. All right. The fun part of any McSpacebiff prop is the outlines. And since I've been planning this since I did the sculpt, I sculpted it such that I kind of have like places for the outlines to go already. And I usually do a few passes for the outlines because it's just time consuming. So I usually just kind of do it rough first, and then over time kind of go through and refine. Oh yeah, and then these stitches, we need to kind of highlight these. And this is another place where the ambient occlusion is so handy. Because I kind of know where to put these lines without having to like think too much about it. And if we just take a quick look, you can see how it just kind of makes everything pop a little bit. So the next thing, what the heck? I thought I turned that off. That might be it. Okay. All right. So this is the other kind of trick to hand painted textures, is you basically have just a couple of colors that are like opposites, and you just kind of put them against each other. Like along the edges. And then maybe one other color. That's like fairly different for just like little like splotches or blemishes. And that kind of gives it just a little bit of a little more of a depth, like a little more 3D. Like, you know, like already this one is starting to look better than the ones that we haven't done. And then one more thing that can help a lot is to get a color that's close, well, not too close, and then use like just a grunge brush at like, you know, reasonably low opacity with pen pressure. And you can just kind of add just a little bit of texture. And you can set up a different one on your eraser and set it up the same way. And then you can just kind of go back and forth, adding and taking away texture. Yeah, I think it's getting somewhere. It's subtle, but it makes a pretty big difference. All right, now for this, I think this is too much. Trying to just kind of give these a little more depth. Yeah, it's definitely the wear and tear that makes things kind of feel real and believable. It seems to be a trend in newer games to have everything be like super clean, and definitely not a big fan of that. Even Doom 2016 felt like that. Like even like the monsters and everything, they just felt like clean, which I thought was a really weird vibe for a game like Doom. Oh man, yeah, Doom 3 gets so much hate, but it's absolutely my favorite. of the whole series as well. It's just so intense. And like people complain about how dark it is. And I'm just like, man, if you're complaining about how dark it is, you're like really missing the point. Yeah, like it's supposed to be dark. That's what makes it so scary. You've got to put your flashlight away to aim your gun. Like that was crazy. And then there's like mods and even the like official re-release like add the flashlight gun mod, and I just didn't like that. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, it was so good. Underappreciated game for sure. Also, one of the very few games that kind of did what we've always tried to do, which is melee combat in a FPS. It's like Doom didn't have any kind of like dodging mechanics or anything, but you did have to be really conscious of like how you positioned yourself so as to not get hit by fireballs and things like that. I loved that about it. That was a scary game. Oh yeah, when you walk into the bathroom and you look in the mirror and it like zooms in. That was cool. Something else I loved about Doom 3 was on the highest difficulty, the gameplay was totally different. Um, like on the highest difficulty, your health would constantly go down, but you got the soul cube from the very beginning, and so the only way to get health back was with the soul cube. And I think med kit there were no med kits, but there were health stations. But your health would always go down and stop at 25. So it forced you to be like very aggressive. So it was a totally different way of playing. And what else was cool about it was how they actually added like there was different dialogue, like there was little like weird Easter eggs and things like that. It's really cool. If you do another Doom 3 playthrough, there's a mod where apparently for the alpha version of Doom, they had Trent Reznor did some sounds. I think just sounds, not music. But like there's like he had his own like pistol sound and shotgun sound, and it sounds a lot better than what they ended up shipping the game with. And so you can get that mod. That mod replaces the sounds with his, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a real shame they didn't get him to do the whole like actual released game, because he did all the sounds and music for Quake 2, I think, or one of the first Quake games. right. Probably spent too long on that, but it's looking kind of neat. So yeah, this is hand texturing. Not the most efficient way to texture, but it's fun. And I kind of I like the way it looks. I like to keep it real loose and kind of sloppy intentionally. I think it just sort of adds a little something to the vibe. And yeah, you don't need anything super fancy. I'm just using Photoshop. You could probably also use Krita or like those some open source painting software. I need to give that a try. I hear it's pretty good. And you can do this kind of stuff in Substance as well, but I just think it's a little easier in Photoshop. Oh, nice. You'll have to let me know how it works. Oh yeah, and then another thing I guess worth mentioning is this will actually look different in the engine because I've got some special shaders in Unreal that apply like a kind of paper texture effect. And so it'll look much more like papery and textured, which is pretty cool. It's got a neat look and it's all configurable. So like I can kind of dial in the strength of that effect. I can show you that when we get to importing to Unreal. But it's nice because it's like if for some reason I kind of need to sort of rush something through and I don't have time to like really give it the kind of texturing attention that I'd like to, it kind of can still look okay. And if there's anything anybody's ever kind of interested in or would like to see or talk about, just let me know. You can leave a comment here on one of these streams or in our Discord. You know, we're just a bunch of nerds hanging out doing nerd stuff, so just let me know what you want to do. Troopsor's words, not mine. Just doing this is kind of all you need to do for like stitches in this kind of style. Just literally just black lines with highlight around them. And that kind of makes them pop out. And that's why I don't use, in the ZBrush part of this, I don't use any like custom brushes or like stitch brushes or anything. I've got those, but I don't really use them because like, right, you're going to see this thing from this far away in game. You won't see it. You can't see any detail more than just that. So the name of the game for this kind of stuff is, you know, just enough detail. Just enough so that it feels real and like it has depth. Yeah, when you zoom out, you start to think like, oh yeah, why was I agonizing over those little corners? Nobody can tell. No one's gonna, you know, we're working on it and we're looking at it like this, but that's you physically won't be able to see it like that in the game. Yeah, this kind of stuff is my favorite. Like this kind of like cloth, like kind of textured, grimy cloth. I don't know, something about it. I just kind of love. I love modeling it and I love texturing it. And this was kind of a funny part when I was doing the high poly, is because I thought I was gonna have to like I kind of had this elaborate plan for doing this like diamond pattern, and then I was like, okay, well, but before I do that, what if I just free-handed it? It's like there's no way that'll look okay, but let's just try it, you know, just for the sake of like to test, you know. And so I just free-handed it in like 2 seconds in ZBrush and was like, that actually looks fine. So it kind of worked out. It seems to me that in a lot of 3D stuff, it's like the stuff that people kind of think, like they look at and they go like, whoa, that must have taken forever, is like easy. And then the stuff that really does take forever, people are like, doesn't the engine just do that? It's like you're always like getting credit for things you don't deserve and not getting credit for the things you do deserve. It's kind of like how if you ever use an asset pack, you'll just get nothing but compliments on like the one thing you didn't make. People will be like, "Whoa, did you make that one rock?" You know, and it's like inevitably the one that you didn't make. And you're like, "I made all the others. I swear, I made all the others, but that one rock." And they never believe you. They're just like, "Uh huh." That's honestly the reason why I don't use asset packs. Not saying you should never use them. Sometimes it's stupid to model a coffee cup when you could just get one for free online, but I still model the coffee cup. Not saying it's smart. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your game you probably can't find a whole lot of assets for. I haven't seen any I haven't seen any intestines of eldritch gods asset packs out there. So you're on your own. You're gonna have to cook that up yourself. It's starting to look a little more 3D. There's something really fun to me about just fake 3D. Like that looks like it's got like you can, kind of like you can kind of figure how it would feel if you could touch it, but then you look at the actual like wireframe and it's just like nothing. I don't know why I'm just all about that. I still vividly remember the first time I baked a normal map successfully, and it was just like I was just like amazed by it. I remember just like sitting staring at this cube that had like wooden plank details on it that I'd sculpted in Blender, and I was just like, "Whoa, it looks 3D, but it's not. How does that work?" There's that little pop-up again. That is really being annoying today. Man. You know what? Maybe I'll just move my layers onto this side of the screen so I don't have to deal with it as much. This is going to be really hard to get used to, though. Oh man, I don't know if I can do this. This feels like driving on the wrong side of the road. Let's see, I've actually got to go for a second, but I will be right back. Let's see, just hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay, let's see, where did we leave off? All right. Cool. Oh yeah, I guess I better do these little strap details too. And then, yeah, again, it's just kind of, you just take a slightly darker texture of the same color and use a brush to just kind of add it in, and then use the eraser, take it back away. Starts to look pretty cool pretty quick. All the brushes in Photoshop. So the eraser is basically just a brush like any other, and you can configure it. There's a lot of, it's a F5, opens up your brush palette, and there's a lot of settings in here that you can play with. But yeah, I pretty much just use them on the default, really. All I change is opacity pressure and radius pressure, and of course the brush alpha. What's going on here? This is weird. Oh boy, I must have done something when I opened this. What did I do? My brush isn't working anymore. I'm going to restart Photoshop. Oh, that must be something on my Wacom tablet. A little bit of live troubleshooting here. Yeah, my mouse works, but my Wacom doesn't. I'm going to restart the Wacom driver. There we go. So, for any of you Wacom users out there, up until recently, if that had happened to me on stream, I would have had to have rebooted my computer and stopped the stream. But I learned somewhat recently you can just go to the Windows Services Manager and you can find the Wacom Professional Service, and you can just restart it. And that usually sorts out problems with the Wacom driver. So that's kind of a lifesaver, especially right now. It helped out a lot. All right, so there we go. It looks like we've got a few people watching. Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome. We're doing some hand-painted texturing for this prop that we've been working on for some time. I've got a video time-lapse of the whole high poly modeling process, and now we've been live streaming the retopology and baking and texturing process. And so yeah, so this is for a game that I've been working on. The game's called Captain McSpacebiff. This is going to be like a little terminal you can find out in the open world and use it to order supplies. This piece is going to be like a little computer screen that'll have kind of cool like effects on it, hopefully. But yeah, we're just kind of slogging through, just painting this thing up. If anybody's got questions or wants to see anything particular, just let me know. We'll be taking this into Unreal when we're done texturing. Yeah, this is my favorite part of making any asset, is just this last phase of just texturing it and just making it look cool. It's kind of like painting a model kit. All right. Okay, so yeah, you can kind of get a feel now for, kind of just what, difference just this sort of little difference makes, because here we don't have any of the painting, and here we've done kind of a first pass on all of it. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And adding little flecks makes a big difference. Those little details make a big difference. Oh, come on. What's going on here? Huh. Oh, I see. I'm painting on the wrong layer. My bad. There we go. Had me worried for a second. All right, let's get back to this side. All right, got the Planet America logo. Let's see how this looks. That could be pretty cool. I'm going to export a closed version just so I can kind of see a little better. All right. Quick reboot. Pen pressure's not working anymore. Okay, there we go. All right, these are the kind of tough things to freehand. Something about this logo makes this whole thing feel like 1,000% more NASA. Thanks. Yeah, it's getting there. So, is there anything you've been working on for your game that's been like particularly, I don't know, challenging or particularly exciting? Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I know how that is. It's I didn't get much work done when I had my daughter either, which is good. You know, little break from game dev. It does make it tough to find the time. But yeah, that's cool. I like that idea of the mouse based combat. I think that'll be really interesting to see. Oh yeah, those. Yeah, well, for one thing, yeah, I mean any game dev definitely takes more resources like than just playing a game because you know when you play a game it's already been optimized, but when you're making a game it's not optimized yet. You know you've got to optimize it. So it'd probably be worth you know upgrading your rig at the earliest convenience. I spent a long time you know kind of you know bottlenecked by my hardware, and it's kind of a waste of time. you don't need any additional disadvantages, right? There's a lot that's already in the way of making a game. And then as to your other comment about the sword clipping through the walls, yeah, that's a classic problem. Yeah, in Unity, that was really annoying because we'd have to have two cameras set up, one for rendering the hands and gun and one for rendering the world. And it was always so annoying because all sorts of stuff would break. Like the hands and gun would never receive shadows from the world because they're, in a whole different render pass. Super annoying. In Unreal, it doesn't work like that. It's all actually rendered by the same camera. But the hands have a material that uses some vertex position offset trickery to kind of fake a lower field of view and to render it above everything else. And that seems to be working a lot better. So I'm kind of excited, I think, to finally be have gotten to the bottom of that classic problem. Yeah, and it's something that I got just off of GitHub too, and it just pretty much worked. It's like, oh, sweet. Yeah, the difficulty with that is just so the only way the whatever is in your hands is going to look right is if it's rendered at a low FOV, right? Field of view. And if you render the world and your hands at the same FOV, then that's pretty much fine. And then you can do stuff like you could have the hands play an animation where they kind of come back, or go down if you get too close to a wall. But the problem is the FOV that looks right for hands is 40 or something like that. But 40 FOV for the world is going to feel terrible because you'll just feel like you've got blinders on, you have no peripheral vision. It feels like you're playing the game through goggles like this, which is just not good. So what generally we have our world FOV set to 100, and then the gun FOV is 40. So it makes the hands feel like they're up in a natural position and they don't look all distorted, but then the world, you feel like you've got that peripheral vision that you have in real life. So yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, and the hands are just always going to go through the walls, kind of no matter what, unless you do something give the player a really wide capsule so that he can't bump up against the wall as easily, but that's going to feel weird because it'll feel like there's always something between you and the wall. It's definitely interesting, the psychology of first person games. Yeah, and I mean those aren't every engine, uses its numbers differently. So basically just the world is going to be much larger than the view model FOV. And the other reason you want them separated is so the player, because you know how games usually have an FOV slider. So the player should have some control over their FOV because some people prefer it a little wider and some people prefer it a little more pulled in. And there's some people who have motion sickness and stuff, like they'll get real put off if they can't put it on their the right setting for them. So you want to be able to accommodate that, but so that means you've got to be able to have the players set their FOV. So now you don't know what the FOV of the game is. So how do you make your view model animations look good no matter what, right? Well, you can't. If everything is if the FOV is variable, you don't know what to author your animations at unless you can have a separate FOV for the hands and lock it down on that. So you say, you pick whatever setting looks good in your first model or whatever, and you're like, okay, I think 35, looks right. Then all the rest of the animations for your game can be based on that 35-degree view model FOV, and it'll just look a lot better. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that takes a while to kind of figure out by trial and error. So yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about as to the process from here out. It's pretty much just repetitive, just kind of drawing, just tracing over this, just tracing over your baked maps, adding scratches, adding little scuffs, adding those little color variations to kind of make everything pop out. Now that I'm seeing this, it's kind of wishing I had done the UVs a little differently, because that's a pretty bad seam. But it's probably okay. There's going to be some seams. If I were working for, a 50-person company and this little backpack was all I had to worry about, then I'd fix it. I'd go all the way back and re-unwrap and rebake and redo all this texturing. But since it's not the case, and I've got a lot of other things I still need to make, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, this art style makes it easy to cover a lot of mistakes. If there's something that's not looking quite right, you can just put a thick black line over it. Done. We need cheat codes like that. Honestly, this game is probably too ambitious as it is. Thanks. Yeah, well, I feel like Borderlands. It's definitely different than Borderlands. It's got the outlines, right? I mean, Borderlands has outlines. This has outlines. That's why people compare them. But our shapes are different. Our colors are different. Everything in Borderlands is kind of like, kind of. I don't know. It's not like this. It's like it's maybe the same sort of style, but it's a different aesthetic. And really, the texturing process is like almost an afterthought compared to everything else that we do. Because yeah, we're 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. I mean, we've probably spent. I mean, I spent 11 hours modeling the high poly. And I know that for sure because I recorded it. And then, the low poly took like 6 hours to make. So, we spend more time kind of thinking about the shapes. Excuse me. Thinking about the shapes than just the textures. Try to highlight some of these edges to give this a more metallic feel. Yeah, the models are the unsung heroes. Because 90% of the texture comes from the model. This is kind of like a good little rule of thumb for metal, I find, is have like use a soft brush with even like some Gaussian blur. And then above that, just kind of do the same thing, but with a hard edge. And it makes it kind of look a little more metally, especially when you zoom out. That edge now is starting to look, sharper. It's a lot different than using Substance Painter. I can't just go in the library and say metal and pick out a metal. Gotta actually paint it. Ooh. Still not 100% sure about this. Yeah. Or ask ChatGPT, model cool retro sci-fi backpack, please. So something is definitely still up with the like outside edges. I gotta think of something for that. There's kind of a lot. This kind of thing is tricky. You know what? Let me pull up the let me open up the engine and look at the other terminal. Yeah. Yeah, stay on the good side of the new AI overlords. So true. I think AI is only going to really be a problem for people that are just kind of trying to do bare minimum anyway. You know what I mean? I think you'll always be able to tell the difference. All right. So this is kind of like an example of the same technology. So I kind of want this same vibe. Maybe I just need more green. Yeah, but that's the thing about I've had a lot of people ask me like why don't you use AI, or why don't you use stock assets or something to to automate the boring parts, so you can focus on the important stuff. And I don't know, I just kind of have this feeling that it's like, it shows, it's like for one thing, I don't really want to give up the boring parts, like I kind of enjoy the boring parts, because it's like I'm building my thing. And it's like if I was in a big team, like I could delegate it to like another person, but I kind of wouldn't even want to do that. Like I just know, I mean, like, there's only, there's an argument to be made, for efficiency. There's only so many hours, so you have to learn to delegate stuff. And that, I get that. But I just know if I was in a situation where I was delegating a lot of that stuff, eventually I'd be like, all right, let me just do like one piece all by myself. Like even if I had to do it like in the evening or something, just for fun. It'd be like, I just want to do something all by myself, without delegating any of it to anybody. So that's one reason why I just don't want to not do it all. But then I also feel like, the quality would suffer, because I do have this like idea for the whole thing, and even if it's not gonna be, and it's not like I'm even the best at this, right? Like there's a lot of people out there that are, way more talented, that would do a better job than I would, but they wouldn't do the same job that I would, and it's like I don't know, I like the fact that, someday like I can run through the game and, like my fingerprints are on every single little thing. Like I've at least like modified like every single little thing. Nothing just like wandered in, So like I can kind of like I feel comfortable taking ownership of like everything in the project, and I think that's kind of what a lot of games are missing is like there's no like nobody has this like ownership of it. Nobody's like that's my game, and so it just kind of feels generic. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I wanted a template, there's games have already been made. There's a Halo 3 template out there. It's called Halo 3. But I want to do something a little different. And then yeah, that's I like that. What movies is I don't know the name Roger Deakins. What movies has he done? But yeah, I like that. There's a difference between good and right cinematography. Yeah, it's that way for games. There's a difference between good and right game dev. What I'm doing is definitely not right game dev, but hopefully it's good. Oh, nice. Yeah, the new Blade Runner was really cool. Oh, nice. Classic. Have you read the book, No Country for Old Men, or any of Cormac McCarthy's books? Yeah, Blood Meridian is probably the best. Yeah, I read Blood Meridian, and it was awesome. And then I started reading No Country for Old Men, and after reading Blood Meridian, I was just like, this kind of sucks. Like, like I kind of just, I don't know. I need to go back to it. I'm sure it's awesome. But Blood Meridian was just so good, and like reading No Country for Old Men just kind of felt like I was reading like Blood Meridian Light or something like that because it's like I think I don't know which one he wrote first, but it's like they're kind of like dealing with a lot of the same themes, but so it just kind of felt like probably just because I was reading them like back to back, it just kind of felt like the second one was just kind of like a ripoff. But yeah, they're awesome, and the movie was awesome, so I'm sure the book is cool too. I was probably just in a particular like mood when I read it. I'm sure it's great. Blood Meridian was amazing. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Something about it felt more like if I was guess, I would have guessed that it came second because it felt like more like refined or something. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it did just something about No Country for Old Men did just feel like a rehash. But like I said, that was years and years ago that I read those, so I was probably just being pretentious. Yeah, I guess there's only so many like good ideas a person can have. That looks pretty cool. Just that little highlight really makes that feel like it's got more depth. Copying myself from this reminded me of the idea. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of make these things feel like they kind of belong as like part of a set, like they were made by the same company or something like that. This is the other kind of like little signature thing that Borderlands does, is just kind of bridging the outlines with a little crack. Even if it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It just looks cool, makes it look like weathered. Gotta be careful not to overdo it and not to do it in the wrong places. Might actually just not do it here. I think I kind of like that. That's neat. I should have figured all this material distribution stuff out earlier while we were doing the material IDs, but I didn't. So now I've got to figure it out now. There we go. That's cool. That's cool. That kind of ties it together. Oh yeah, and then this piece. Is supposed to match that piece. Yeah, that's work, isn't it? Just wasting time on phone calls. A lot of the challenge for this is just picking the right colors. Oh yeah, that's another thing. That's another kind of pro hack tip is never use white. It just won't ever look right. If you look at this texture is very much not white. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks white, but it's mostly like kind of like yellow. Oh, and the sleeves of McSpacebiff's arms, those are a good example too. So, going first person. But yeah, they look white, don't they? But they're actually almost yellow. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. That's his arm texture right there. That's for the third person mesh anyway. The first person one. Yeah, here it is. See how off-white that is? Like compared to, really. Like, yeah, you can see the difference. If you were to make this like actually this white, it would just be like awfully blown out. Like it would just never look right in the engine lighting. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because the lighting, it's like, lighting is, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like, lighting, it kind of like, it can only make things darker. It can't, well, and it can make things brighter too, but it's like white. Yeah, see, if I go to unlit, it looks like it gets a little darker and grungier. The light kind of takes that out. So if it didn't have that, I mean, it would look like this. Yeah, there's a pure white cube, and putting them side by side, they don't look anything the same. And yeah, like the player especially. Like if I go stand next to this cube, like if his uniform were that white, it just wouldn't look natural at all. So yeah, you always want to err on the side of less white. Yeah, everything's kind of a balancing act. All right, well, that's pretty decent progress. We've got a long way to go still. Gotta still do the straps, and then there's still a lot to kind of figure out in here. But also, like I said, I'll show you that Unreal material I mentioned. So let's see, I've got. Yeah, so we've got this material, and it's got variables for paper multiplication and screen opacity. And so basically, if I turn this up all the way, see how it gets like very papery looking? And that's what it looks like without it. You're right. So that's another thing that helps the like whiteness kind of balance out, is this shader kind of adds that in. And then the screen opacity might be kind of hard to tell, but basically multiply darkens and screen lightens. So this shows up a lot better on like dark textures. But yeah, and then I've just got these paper textures. And there's all kinds of different, there's a few different variations, and then these are the ones for screen. So these get added on, like the white parts get added on. And it just kind of helps, gives it that little extra bit of texture. So yeah, we'll have that to help us out in this too. So that'll break up some of this, but we'll add a little more texture manually as well, I think. But yeah, probably one more stream of texturing, and we'll probably be done. Just import it into Unreal, and then maybe start thinking about what we want to put on the screen. Like come up with some kind of little oscilloscope kind of thing. Find some royalty-free stock video or something, some After Effects pack, and play with it, or I don't know, could generate something from Houdini or something like that. Or there's a lot of ways we could do something like this, but yeah, that'll be kind of the last step of this whole thing. So yeah, hopefully this was fun. Any questions? Yeah, let's go. We're almost there. Almost there. Not too bad. 4 streams, and it's pretty good progress. Any suggestions for future streams? Like I'm thinking probably would do some creature design for the little alien creature. But any other ideas, or maybe would you like to do like blueprint type stuff? Like which is Unreal's like visual scripting language. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. What was it? Oh yeah, we'll probably one of the things I'll probably be working on soon is making some kind of like sandstorm, like wind, like wind effect that kind of like blows the player back. Because we're thinking like one of the suit upgrades you'll get will be like gravity boots that let you like clamp down on the ground. And so then you can like trudge through the wind, but otherwise you won't be able to. So yeah, maybe that's something we can work on. That'd be cool. There was something else. There was something else pretty major that I can't remember that we need to work on. Lots to do. Lots to do. So yeah, there's plenty of material. Well, yeah, that's mechanics and gameplay. That's just kind of trial and error, honestly. I mean, we just kind of put something together, try it out, see how it works. If it's fun, we keep it, and if it's not fun, we just keep changing it. Nice. Yeah, yeah, that'd be fun. Animation. Yeah, animation's a big one. That's a good one. That's a good one too, because yeah, that'll help me with my classes. So I'm teaching an animation class this semester, so that'd be a good one to do. Give me some material to use in there. Cool. So basically, just everything. Write that down. Just everything. All right. Sweet. Well, thanks for hanging, MSim Cook and whoever else is out there. This was fun. Always fun. Why do I have two models, one open and one closed? Oh, that's just so I can see better. It's just because it's because I don't have like my pivots set up right in Marmoset to just like open and close this, and I just didn't want to have to like pan around to the back. I should have three. I should have just like duplicated this one and like turned it around too, so I could see like all sides at once. But yeah. Yeah, no deep complicated reasons behind that one. Yeah, this has been a blast. Thanks for hanging out. It's always fun. It's always fun working and chatting a little bit. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Yeah, peace.